This phone was sold to criminals as an encrypted and secure smartphone. What they didn't know was Arcane OS had been developed by the FBI as a massive undercover operation. This is the Anom phone. Very little is known about the Anom phone and its OS, but that's about to change, as I just got my hands on one. While initially being sold to criminals, some have made their way onto sites like eBay and Gumtree after the news broke out about the undercover sting operation. The Anom phone is based on a regular Android phone with a custom operating system, this one being a Google Pixel 4a. This 4a is in perfect condition and honestly looks unused. Looking in the box, we can see this is a US model, although these devices were sold elsewhere around the world. The previous owner has also supplied me with 2 passcodes, which will become relevant later on. The idea for this phone came to be over a couple of beers between some people at the AFP and FBI. The phones were on sale between late 2018 and the 8th of June 2021. Anom was described as being run like a real company. They had a website, social media, and even handled customer support. A Xiaomi Mi 8 displayed on the homepage prior to the takedown leads me to believe they had more than one model, with prices reportedly ranging between $1,500 and $2,000. Today, the Anom website displays a domain seized message from the FBI and AFP. So how did it work? Well, the sole purpose of these phones was to communicate over a specific messaging application called Anom. However, the devices and messaging app were a honeypot, containing backdoors that allowed every one of the 23 million messages sent to be accessed, read, and decrypted by authorities. Throughout the 3 years of device distribution, 11,800 devices had been sold worldwide. After the takedown of the service, many arrests and seizures have taken place, with the operation described as being the biggest sting in Australian history. But what made the Ironside operation what it is was of course the phone itself, something not well documented. So it's time to dive into Arcane OS. Here is where we'll use the pin codes. Entering the basic pin gives us access to the phone with 2 installed apps. But watch what happens when I enter the decoy pin code. The phone loads into an entirely different interface, loaded with apps, most of which don't even work. And that's just the beginning. This phone is beyond anything I've ever seen before. Now I know a lot of people will be questioning the hardware of the phone and if any modifications have been done to it. I don't believe so, and I don't understand why they would. After all, the software is the brains of the operation, and it's able to track everything, even GPS location. The first section we're going to explore is the main interface. This is where you would go to send messages via Anom. There should be 3 apps installed, but I only have 2. The calculator is missing, and this is what was containing the message platform Anom. In a video released by the AFP, you can see how the app would have worked. Entering a special code into the calculator opens the Anom Messenger. It contained chats, a vault for file storage, contacts, and a profile page. But you might wonder why mine lacks the app. It's removed after a factory reset, and according to researchers, is only installed once the device reconnects with a remote management system. As the service was shut down a year ago, it's unlikely that it'll ever show up again. However, for those it did, it displayed a message saying the calculator was updated by admin. As for the other 2 accessible apps, the clock appears to be just that. It seems unchanged from the normal version. Settings, however, is a different question. It looks normal at first until you realize it's missing a lot of options, including location, apps, and storage. In the About section, limited information is given, with not a build number present, meaning I cannot enable developer options. If we could, not only would that allow you to flash software onto the phone, but also browse its file system, which I've done on several of my phones, and found some really interesting things, from APK files of installed apps, to the boot animation, or to discover the fact that the default wallpapers come from stock photo websites. As for the Anom phone, the updater does provide us with some more info. It seems this phone runs an Android 10 update from December 2020. A friend of mine also pointed out how the updater was identical to the one found in Lineage OS, an open source Android ROM. It's very likely that Arcane OS was developed using open source projects and modified to meet the demands of the FBI. Also found in settings is a lack of privacy options, like app permissions or location settings. In security, we get all the options for the lock screen, with even the option to use your fingerprint. I wonder if this information was collected, although I assume it's hardware encrypted, so the OS can't read the fingerprint anyway. Other options include scrambling the pin layout, setting a pin to wipe the device, or even automatically wiping the phone if it's not used for a period of time. While some of these features are actually a really cool idea, in the end they were just a false sense of security given this device's backdoors. Additionally, there's even an option to wipe the device from the notification shade. Other options like sound and display look similar to stock Android. And before anybody asks, the wallpaper is a city silhouette of San Francisco. In the battery section, I did find a list of apps, but none were of any significance. Having explored everything in the main interface, it's time to enter the dummy mode. At the lock screen, I can enter the decoy pin to load the interface. From what I believe, this is just another user on the device, but we're accessing it through the pin code. Opening the app drawer, we have an array of apps, from TikTok to Subway Surfers. The catch? They don't open. Well, most of them. Oddly, the decoy mode features more functional apps than the main user. It shares the same clock application, but has several more we can access and mess around in, including contacts, which is filled with very obvious fake entries, some contacts having emails ending in example.com. But I was curious on the profile photos. I searched them all on TinEye, but only one returned results. The image appears to originate from a freelancer website and TripAdvisor review. And before you ask, these are public pages that anybody could find. And therefore, this is a public image. Another app that opens is the Messages app, although it looks vastly different than the typical Google version. I'm able to view contacts or input a number to text, but there's no option to begin the message, or actually send anything. That functionality has been removed. I even found an option in settings to change the default SMS application or view the open source licenses, both of which don't work. In the phone app, it's a similar ordeal. Messages fail to start, you can't call out, and any of the service codes just crash the app. However, I was able to create a contact. I used this as an opportunity to try and launch a web browser by inputting a URL into the contact, but this unsurprisingly didn't work. After messing with the phone some more, I noticed my contact had vanished. After some more investigating, I learnt that I can create a contact, but if you close the contact app and relaunch it, it returns everything to a default state, having removed the added contact. The contact app debacle doesn't end there. These dummy apps have something to do with it. Holding down on an app doesn't allow you to uninstall, just add a widget for the Contacts app. The second last functional app is Google Photos, except it's not really Google Photos. It has 3 albums containing several images that don't exist when clicked on. All are 0 bytes in size and created at the time the decoy mode was opened. In the settings, I did find an option to add a camera shortcut, however, like most things on this phone, it didn't work. What I did find was the app's origin. Its real name is Camera Roll Gallery, an open source photos app that is available on the Play Store. The last remaining app is Settings. It looks just like the one found in the main user, however this one doesn't function. It recognizes taps, but nothing opens. You'll find that now that we're in decoy mode, locking and unlocking the screen, we can only access decoy mode, which doesn't have a passcode. To re-enter the main user, the phone has to be rebooted. Here, the main user account can be accessed just like at the beginning. I have tried everything I can think of to be able to get this phone to do something it's not supposed to, whether unlocking the bootloader, accessing the file system, or even just installing an app. While unsuccessful, I did come to the conclusion that these settings are not just hidden from the user, but removed entirely. I cannot load the storage manager with the USB plugged in, or the app list through notification settings. It tries, but the page remains blank and frozen. I did try this same thing in decoy mode with even worse results. If you end up with one of these devices, whether as a memento or you got scammed, there is currently no way to remove the software. The bootloader is locked with secure boot enabled, meaning only verified ArcaneOS software can be installed, locking out the original software. It'd be interesting to know if Google has a solution to this or if there's some hidden way to unlock it. But for now, ArcaneOS it is for this Pixel 4a. So this is it, the most interesting and locked down phone I've ever owned. With ArcaneOS being closed source, there isn't any way of knowing what exactly it's doing behind the scenes. Several people have attempted to find out by tracking where it's connecting online. One person straight up claiming it to be a scam prior to the announcement. While I don't condone criminal activity, there is plenty of reasons to want more privacy and security, especially with most companies tracking you to make themselves more money, or in some cases even selling your data to third parties. If there's ever a reason to believe in open source software, this phone is the prime example. It's clear this phone was really thought out. Obviously this was key for the operation's success, but now that it's over, these phones can't do anything but be an awesome part of history. At least for now. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button and consider checking out the custom and modified technology playlist for more videos just like this one. And if you're looking for any used devices, be sure to check out my online store, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.